The site of Tiverton Junction Station, starting point for the 7.5 mile long branch line along the Culm Valley to Hemiok. The broad gauge Bristol and Exeter Railway had arrived here in 1844, and straight away people saw the local economy improve at the expense of communities further away from the railway. It wasn't until 1876 that the standard gauge line along the Culm Valley was opened. It curved away from the main line, passing first under Southview Road at Willand. Here there is a faded bridge marker showing we're 37 chains from Tiverton Junction. The line then ran under Silver Street. The first moves to construct a railway through here came in the 1860s, when a new law was passed allowing railways to be built without an expensive Act of Parliament, as long as no one objected to the project. This prompted an engineer called Arthur Payne to float the idea of a light railway with no formal stations to serve the Culm Valley settlements. The idea received good public support at a meeting in 1872, but objections meant the Act of Parliament was actually going to be required. This added to the costs, as did the need to change contractors halfway through. The route of the line can be followed through this housing estate in Willand. Then it passed into the countryside towards the first station at Cold Harbour Halt, which opened in 1929. It had a siding behind the platform and a signal box at the south end to control the goods line and the level crossing. The site is now the car park of Cold Harbour Mill, which is one of the oldest woolen mills in the UK, having been in continuous production since 1797. Across the lane, the route is now a footpath leading to the next station at Afcom. The standard gauge line along the Culm Valley eventually opened in May 1876, 5 years late and having cost double the original estimate and having a speed limit imposed by the inspectors. There were 5 mixed trains along here, passengers and goods, every day. They were operated by the Bristol and Exeter's successor, the Great Western. The Great Western Railway purchased the line outright in 1880, with the original shareholders receiving only a fraction of their investment back. Over this original iron bridge, the footpath emerges at Afcom Station. Here you can see the station garage and a level crossing gatepost remain. By 1920, the timetable was showing 4 journeys each way through here, the first one leaving Tiverton Junction at 9 in the morning. The journey took 65 minutes, with time allowed for shunting along the way like here at Afcom. In the Tiverton Museum, the ground frame survives. It controlled access to 2 sidings and a cattle dock. Continuing along the river valley, railway fence posts and ballasts survive as we emerge by the old road bridge at Comstock. This is a medieval structure rebuilt after a flood in 1774. It's now Grade 2 listed. Comstock Station was here in what's now the pub car park. There was a single passenger platform and 2 goods sidings here. Part of the loading dock remains. The station sign survives in Tiverton Museum. The next station along the line was at Whitehall Halt, which opened in February 1933. As well as a passenger platform which survives, there was a siding here and a level crossing keeper's hut. The terminus of the line was a 12-minute journey further on at Hemiok. Here's the station site, and it now looks likely to be used for a housing development. Back in the day, it had 4 sidings, an engine shed, a goods shed, a ground frame, but no signal box. This model railway, built by Chris Lammercraft, shows a typical branch line train. Hauled by a small GWR tank engine, both passengers and goods would have been carried. The carriages had gas lamps because the slow speed of the train meant that batteries couldn't be recharged along the way. This was a loss-making and underused line until a milk processing and butter factory was built here in 1884. Its output became the dominant traffic, as seen here. The last passenger train ran in September 1963, 40 years after the GWR had first considered closing the line. The line finally shut in October 1975 when milk traffic came to an end. The site of the former dairy is now a housing estate. And what of the locomotives that used to work on the line? Several of the GWR 1400 class are in preservation. This is the boiler from 1420 being restored at the South Devon Railway in Buckfast-Lee. The firebox and the tender are also being replaced. Hopefully 1420 will be running again soon along the River Dart to Totnes, just as her sisters did along the Culm Valley.